The most dangerous control is the kind you never see coming. You trust their concern, you believe their advice, you defend their actions to others. But beneath the surface, something else operates, a current you never see moving, a pattern you never notice repeating. 3 signs reveal the truth about secret manipulation. And Machiavelli warned you centuries ago, the control you experience isn't obvious. It doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as care, as guidance, as protection. But the mechanism is there, operating, influencing, shaping your reality without your awareness. Today, you learn to recognize what's been invisible. The 3 signs someone is secretly manipulating you. Like if you're ready to recognize secret manipulation, comment your insight below. Share this with those who trust too easily. This knowledge changes how you see influence forever. Comment, "I see through it," if you're ready to master this principle. Type it now. Declare your readiness to detect what's been hidden. You're about to discover 3 warning signs that expose covert control. The way they isolate your perspective without you noticing. How your emotions become tools in their hands. And the moment you start defending their behavior to yourself, becoming their advocate inside your own mind. These aren't accusations. They're recognition protocols, strategic awareness that Machiavelli understood centuries ago. By the end, you'll see manipulation operating in real time. And the moment you see it, their power begins to dissolve. Number 1, the invisible influence. Manipulation is not aggression. It's influence you never see operating. True control doesn't announce itself. It doesn't force. It isn't threatening. It operates beneath your conscious awareness, shaping decisions you believe are yours. This is the principle Machiavelli understood that most people miss. Power is most effective when it's invisible. When you see the hand moving the pieces, you can resist. When you don't, you move exactly where they want you. Think of it as a current beneath calm water. The surface appears peaceful. Nothing seems wrong. But underneath, something pulls you in a specific direction. You think you're swimming freely. You believe you're choosing your path. But the current decides where you end up. And here's what makes this so effective. You never question it. You never suspect it. Because the manipulation doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like care, like guidance, like someone looking out for your best interests. But here's the warning you've been missing. Real manipulation operates through 3 specific mechanisms. Not random, not chaotic, precise, calculated, repeatable. The manipulator doesn't need you to fear them. They need you to trust them. They don't want your resistance. They want your cooperation. And they get it by making you believe that what serves them is actually what serves you. This is poison disguised as medicine. You take it willingly. You even thank them for it. Because you can't see what it really is. The packaging looks safe. The presentation feels caring. But the effect remains the same. It weakens your ability to think independently while strengthening their control over your choices. Machiavelli warned that the prince who appears most benevolent often holds the tightest grip. Not through violence, not through force, through perception management, through emotional engineering, through making subjects believe that obedience is wisdom and submission is strength. The 3 signs you're about to learn reveal this mechanism in action. They show you the trap with no visible bars, the prison with no walls, the control that operates through your own mind. And this is where the 3 signs reveal themselves. Number 2, Machiavelli's warning decoded. Overt force creates rebels. Covert control creates believers. This distinction separates amateur manipulators from masters. The amateur threatens. The master is convinced. The amateur demands compliance. The master manufactures desire. The difference isn't just strategy. It's understanding of human psychology at its deepest level. When you force someone, they know they're being controlled. When you influence them correctly, they believe they're choosing freely. Machiavelli observed this in Renaissance politics. The prince who ruled through fear faced constant rebellion. The prince who ruled through perception faced loyalty. Why? Because visible oppression creates visible resistance. Invisible influence creates invisible compliance. And invisible compliance is permanent. It doesn't require enforcement. It requires installation. Here's what Machiavelli warned about hidden power. It works by changing how you see reality itself, not what you see, how you see it. The manipulator doesn't argue with your conclusions. They shape the information you use to reach those conclusions. They don't tell you what to think. They control what you think about. This is the difference between propaganda and persuasion. Propaganda tries to change your mind. Persuasion changes what your mind has to work with. Consider the filters placed on your reality. You don't see them, you see through them. They color everything without announcing their presence. The manipulator installs these filters carefully, gradually, so slowly that you never notice the shift. One day you realize you see the world exactly as they want you to, but by then you believe that vision is yours. This is why obvious manipulation fails, while subtle influence succeeds. When manipulation is obvious, your defenses activate. Your critical thinking engages. You question, you resist, you push back. But when manipulation operates beneath awareness, your defenses never trigger. There's nothing obvious to resist, nothing clear to question, just a gradual reshaping of your reality that feels natural. The manipulator becomes your lens, your filter, your framework for understanding the world. And here's the trap. You defend this framework. You protect it, because now it feels like protecting yourself. Attacking their influence feels like attacking your own judgment. They've made their control part of your identity. This transformation doesn't happen through force. It happens through the three signs operating in sequence. First, they isolate your perspective. Then they weaponize your emotions. Finally, they make you defend their actions to yourself. Each step feels reasonable. Each step feels like your choice, but the pattern reveals the mechanism. And that mechanism is what we examine next. Now let's examine the first sign. Number 3, they isolate your perspective. Sign 1. The first sign is not what they do, it's what they prevent you from seeing. Manipulation begins with information control, not by removing all information. That's too obvious. By carefully filtering what reaches you. By subtly discouraging certain sources. By quietly encouraging others. The result? Walls built around your perception that you never notice being constructed. You think you're informed. You believe you have the full picture, but you're seeing through a narrowed window that they carefully framed. Watch how this operates in practice. They don't forbid you from talking to certain people. They just express concern about those people's judgment. They don't block information sources. They just question their reliability. They don't tell you what to think. They shape what you have available to think about. And here's the key. They do this while making you feel like you're making independent choices. This is the lens that distorts without you noticing. You're not aware that your reality has been filtered. You experience the filtered reality as complete reality. When someone presents information that contradicts your filtered view, you reject it. Not because they told you to, because it doesn't fit the framework they've carefully built in your mind. The contradiction feels wrong to you, uncomfortable, threatening. So you dismiss it automatically, but here's what you need to recognize. When someone consistently guides you away from alternative perspectives, that's not protection, that's isolation. When they discourage you from verifying their claims independently, that's not trust. That's control. When checking other sources feels like betrayal, you're not being loyal, you're being managed. The manipulator makes themselves your primary information source. They position themselves as the interpreter of reality, the translator of events, the authority on what matters and what doesn't. And slowly, gradually, you stop checking, you stop verifying, you stop seeking alternative views. Because they've made alternative views feel dangerous. This isn't paranoia, this is pattern recognition. Healthy relationships encourage independent verification. They welcome outside perspectives. They don't feel threatened when you seek additional information. Manipulation feels threatened by anything that might expose the isolation. If they're controlling your information environment, they're controlling your decision-making capacity. Notice when someone becomes uncomfortable with you seeking second opinions. Notice when they frame other perspectives as attacks on your relationship. Notice when expanding your information sources feels like disloyalty. These reactions reveal the isolation mechanism in operation. They need you isolated to maintain control. The moment you see clearly, their influence weakens, and this connects directly to the second sign. Number 4. Your emotions become their tools. Sign 2. The second sign is emotional puppetry. Your feelings manufactured to serve their agenda. Machiavelli understood what modern psychology confirms. Emotions bypass rational defenses. When you're emotional, you're manageable. When you're calm, you're dangerous to manipulators. So they keep you emotional, not randomly, strategically. They trigger specific feelings at specific times to produce specific behaviors. This is your emotions weaponized against your own interests. Watch the pattern. They create guilt when you set boundaries. They generate anxiety when you think independently. They manufacture obligations when you prioritize yourself. These emotions don't arise naturally. They're triggered deliberately, on command, like pulling strings on a puppet. And you dance because you don't see the strings. Here's how emotional manipulation operates mechanically. First, they establish what emotional responses serve their purposes. Need compliance. Install guilt. Need dependence. Install fear. Need loyalty. Install obligation. Then they create situations that trigger these emotions repeatedly, until the triggers become automatic, until you don't need them present to feel these emotions. You've internalized their control mechanism. This is emotion as a manipulation tool, refined to precision. They don't need to tell you what to do. They just need to make you feel a certain way. The emotion does the rest. Guilt drives you to comply, fear drives you to depend, obligation drives you to prioritize their needs over yours. And you believe these emotions are yours, natural, justified. You don't recognize them as installed responses. But here's the recognition key. Healthy emotions serve your well-being. Manipulated emotions serve their agenda. When your feelings consistently lead you to choices that benefit them at your expense, those feelings aren't natural, they're engineered. Notice when guilt appears immediately after boundary setting. Notice when anxiety spikes before independent action. Notice when obligation emerges whenever you prioritize yourself. The manipulator becomes your emotional trigger mechanism. They don't need to explain their reasoning. They don't need to justify their demands. They just need to activate the appropriate emotion, and you comply automatically. You feel bad for resisting. You feel wrong for questioning. You feel selfish for protecting your own interests. This is psychological programming operating in real time. Your emotions become their remote control. Press this button, get this behavior. The sophistication lies in making you believe the emotions are spontaneous, when they're actually responses they carefully cultivated over time. And this leads directly to the most insidious sign. Because once they control your information and your emotions, they can make you do something truly remarkable, defend their manipulation to yourself and others. Number 5. You justify their behavior to yourself. Sign 3. The third sign is internal advocacy. You've become their defense lawyer inside your own mind. This is where manipulation reaches its apex. They no longer need to defend themselves. You do it for them, automatically, reflexively, before anyone even questions their behavior. You've installed their perspective so deeply that it operates as your own thinking. This is self-manipulation on their behalf. Watch how this mechanism functions. Someone points out their controlling behavior. Before they respond, you respond, explaining, justifying, rationalizing. You don't understand them like I do. They've been through a lot. They mean, well, they're just trying to help. These aren't your authentic assessments. These are their defense scripts running in your mind. The sophistication here is remarkable. They've made you the guardian of their image, the protector of their reputation, the explainer of their actions. And you perform this role without compensation, without recognition, without even realizing you're performing it, because you believe you're being fair, being understanding, being loyal, when actually you're being their spokesperson. Here's what Machiavelli recognized about installed loyalty. The most powerful control makes subjects defend the ruler's interests as if they were their own. No force required. No threats needed, just careful cultivation of identification. You see attacks on them as attacks on you. You see criticism of them as criticism of your judgment. They've merged their defense with your ego, but notice the pattern beneath this behavior. When do you find yourself explaining their actions? When someone expresses concern about how they treat you. When evidence contradicts their narrative. When your own discomfort starts surfacing. The justification mechanism activates strongest when reality threatens to break through the manipulation. It's a defense system protecting the control structure. This is programming, installed without consent. They didn't ask permission to make you their advocate. They didn't negotiate this arrangement. They simply shaped your thinking gradually until defending them became automatic. And the most dangerous part, you believe these justifications are your own conclusions, your own insights, your own fair-minded analysis. You don't recognize them as planted responses, real, independent thinking questions. Everyone. Manipulated thinking protects specific people from questioning. When you automatically defend someone before examining the validity of concerns about them, that's not loyalty. That's programming. Loyalty coexists with clear sight. Programming prevents clear sight to maintain loyalty. And understanding this programming is how you break free from it. For now, recognize this. The moment you catch yourself defending their behavior reflexively, pause. Ask yourself whose voice is actually speaking. Often you'll discover it's theirs, operating through you. Like software running in the background of your consciousness, the three signs work together as a complete system. Number 6, recognizing the pattern in real time. Most powerful revelations, how to detect manipulation as it happens. Recognition is your immunity. The moment you see the pattern operating, its power begins to dissolve, not because you fight it, because you're no longer unconscious of it. Manipulation requires your unawareness. The second you're aware, the mechanism breaks down. Here's how to spot the pattern in real time. Watch for information narrowing. Notice when your sources of perspective consistently route through one person. Notice when seeking alternative views triggers discomfort. Notice when they position themselves as the interpreter of reality. This is isolation in operation. You're seeing the first sign manifest. Then track your emotional responses. Do certain feelings arise predictably in their presence. Does guilt appear when you set boundaries? Does anxiety emerge before independent action? Does obligation override your own needs consistently? These aren't natural emotional patterns. These are triggered responses. You're witnessing the second sign in action. Finally, monitor your internal dialogue. When criticism of them arises, from others or from your own mind, what happens next? Do you immediately counter it? Do you reflexively explain it away? Do you find yourself defending actions that, if done by anyone else, you'd question? This automatic advocacy is the third sign showing itself. The sophistication of recognizing. Manipulation lies in distinguishing between legitimate concern and strategic control. Legitimate concern welcomes your independence. Strategic control fears it. Legitimate concern respects your judgment. Strategic control shapes it. Legitimate concern accepts your boundaries. Strategic control violates them while making you feel wrong for having them. Here's the difference between suspicion and strategic awareness. Suspicion is emotional, reactive, based on feelings of distrust without clear pattern recognition. Strategic awareness is observational, pattern-based, grounded in specific behavioral evidence. You're not paranoid for noticing consistent patterns. You're observant. Paranoia sees threats everywhere. Awareness sees specific mechanisms operating in specific ways. The moment you see the pattern, their power dissolves. Not immediately, not dramatically, but progressively. Because manipulation requires your participation through unawareness. When you're aware, you stop participating, you stop automatically complying, you stop reflexively defending, you stop accepting filtered information as complete reality. This recognition process feels destabilizing at first. You've built your understanding on their framework. Seeing the framework for what it is means questioning that understanding. It means acknowledging that choices you thought were yours might have been engineered. This discomfort is necessary. It's the discomfort of waking up, of seeing clearly, of reclaiming your perspective from someone who borrowed it without asking. But here's what makes recognition truly powerful. Once you see manipulation operating, you can't unsee it. The pattern becomes visible permanently. Every time they attempt the mechanism, you recognize it. Information isolation, you see it. Emotional triggering, you spot it. Installed justification, you catch it. And each time you see it, their influence weakens further. This is clarity as freedom, not paranoid hypervigilance, not constant suspicion. Just an accurate perception of what's actually happening versus what you're being told is happening. The truth protects you. Delusion leaves you vulnerable. Now you're ready for the counter-strategy that operates from this foundation of clear sight. Number 7. The Machiavellian counter-strategy. Bring all principles together: recognition as immunity, awareness as protection, clarity as freedom. To see manipulation is to neutralize it. This isn't a metaphor. This is the mechanism. Manipulation operates through invisibility. Make it visible and the operation fails. You don't need to confront it dramatically. You don't need to announce your awareness. You simply stop cooperating with the mechanism, and cooperation stops automatically when awareness activates. Here's how the counter-strategy operates systematically. First, expand your information environment. Deliberately seek perspectives they discourage. Verify their claims independently. Check sources they never mention, not to prove them wrong. To give yourself complete reality instead of filtered reality. You're dismantling the isolation mechanism. Second, interrupt emotional automation. When guilt appears, pause before responding. When anxiety emerges, question its source. When obligation drives you, ask whose needs it serves. You're not eliminating emotion. You're eliminating triggered emotion. Natural feelings serve you. Manufactured feelings serve them. Learn to distinguish between the two. Third, catch internal advocacy before it runs. When you start defending them reflexively, stop. Examine the defense. Ask, is this my authentic assessment or their script playing in my mind? Often you'll discover it's their voice, their reasoning, their justification. Recognizing this breaks the self-manipulation cycle. The interconnection of these three principles creates complete protection. Information expansion prevents isolation. Emotional awareness prevents manipulation. Advocacy recognition prevents self-betrayal. Together, they form a defense system that operates through consciousness rather than confrontation. Machiavelli understood that power dynamics shift when perception shifts. The manipulator's power exists in your mind, in your filtered reality, in your emotional triggers, in your automatic defenses of them. Change your mind, and their power evaporates. Not because you fight them, because you stop feeding the mechanism that gives them control. This is strategic invisibility in practice. You don't announce your awareness. You don't declare your recognition. You simply stop responding to the triggers, stop accepting the filtered information, stop defending their behavior automatically. From their perspective, nothing obvious has changed, but everything fundamental has shifted. You're no longer participating in your own manipulation. Here's the profound truth about manipulation and awareness. Manipulators need your unconsciousness. They need you to be unaware of the pattern. They need you not to see the mechanism. The moment you see it, they lose the primary tool. They can't make invisible what you've made visible. They can't trigger emotions you recognize as triggers. They can't make you advocate for behavior you clearly see as manipulation. Recognition doesn't just protect you from current manipulation. It immunizes you against future attempts, because once you understand the mechanism, you spot it anywhere, with anyone, different people, different contexts, same pattern, same three signs. And now you see them operating in real time. This is the clarity Machiavelli warned you to develop. Not suspicious of everyone, not trusting no one, just accurately perceiving what's actually happening, seeing manipulation for what it is, seeing genuine care for what it is, and knowing the precise difference between the two. The power shift is complete when you realize this. They need you more than you need them. Manipulators require compliant subjects. You don't require manipulators. Their control depends on your participation. Your freedom depends only on your awareness, and awareness is the one thing they cannot take from you without your consent. Secret. Manipulation operates through isolation, emotional control, and self-justification. Three signs working together to create influence you never see operating. But recognition is not paranoia. It's the clarity Machiavelli warned you to develop. The clarity that transforms invisible control into visible pattern. And visible patterns lose their power over conscious minds. These three signs aren't accusations to throw at others. They're diagnostic tools for your own awareness, mechanisms to recognize when influence crosses into manipulation, when care becomes controlled, when guidance becomes management, when a relationship becomes a mechanism. The signs show you the difference with precision. Remember this principle: manipulation you can see is manipulation you can escape. The three signs are not just warning indicators, they're your early detection system. Isolation shows you where they're filtering reality. Emotional triggering shows you where they're bypassing your defenses. Self-justification shows you where they've installed their voice in your mind. See all three, and you see the complete system. If this opened your eyes to the signs, hit like. Drop which sign you recognize most in the comments. Was it isolation, emotional control, or self-justification? Share this with someone who needs this warning. Someone who trusts too easily. Someone who might be dancing to strings they can't see. This knowledge changes everything when you actually apply it. Remember, manipulation you can see is manipulation you can escape. The three signs are not accusations. They're your early warning system. Recognition is immunity, awareness is protection, clarity is freedom. You now have the tools Machiavelli knew separated the controlled from the conscious. Use them, trust them, let them show you what's been hidden. You now possess the awareness that separates the controlled from the conscious. The three signs have been revealed. What you do with this knowledge determines everything.